It's New Year's Eve, 2012 in Las Vegas. At a nightclub called Hakkasan, a group of men have reserved a table. They order champagne, not by the bottle, but by the case. Cristal, Dom Perignon, Armand de Briac. The bill for the evening will exceed $1 million. At the center of the party is a chubby, baby-faced Malaysian man in his 20s. He's not a rock star. He's not a tech billionaire. He has no obvious source of income that anyone can point to. His name is Jho Low. He's not celebrating a business deal, or a birthday, or a windfall. He is celebrating with stolen money from the people of Malaysia. Over the next few years, Jho Low will spend an estimated $5 billion of stolen funds. He will buy a $250 million superyacht. He will purchase a Picasso, a Monet, all with stolen money. He will produce the movie Wolf of Wall Street, a film about financial fraud, with money taken from a fund designed to help develop Malaysia's economy. He will fly Leonardo DiCaprio, Paris Hilton, and Usher to his parties. And the man who helped him do it all? The Prime Minister of Malaysia. He will smile for the cameras and tell his people their future was being invested wisely. This is the story of 1MDB, the greatest theft of public funds in human history, and the man who is still to this day a fugitive from justice. In 2009, the newly elected Prime Minister of Malaysia, Najib Razak, announced for the creation of a sovereign wealth fund called the One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB for short. The concept was legitimate and genuinely promising. Malaysia was a developing nation with enormous natural resources, particularly oil and gas. A sovereign wealth fund would take money from those resources and invest it strategically, building infrastructure, developing new industries, creating jobs, securing the financial future of ordinary Malaysians. It was, on paper, exactly the kind of institution a responsible government creates for its people. Najib appointed himself chairman of the fund's advisory board. He then invited Jho Low in. Jho Low was born in Penang, Malaysia in 1981 to a wealthy family. He attended Harrow School in England, one of the most prestigious boarding schools in the world, and then the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. At Wharton, he became known for one thing above all else: throwing extraordinary parties. He spent money with a reckless abandon that astonished even wealthy classmates. Nobody quite knew where the money came from. After graduating, he returned to Malaysia and inserted himself into political and financial circles with remarkable speed. He cultivated relationships with powerful people. He made himself useful. He made himself trusted. He had no official role at 1MDB. His name appeared on no organizational chart. He held no title. He ran everything. What Jho Low and Najib Razak built at 1MDB was one of the most sophisticated financial frauds in history. The mechanism was elegant in its cynicism. 1MDB would raise money through bond sales to international banks, through deals with foreign governments, through partnerships that sounded impressive on paper. Goldman Sachs helped raise $6.5 billion in bonds for 1MDB, earning nearly $600 million in the fees in the process. Fees so enormous that Goldman bankers internally questioned whether they were appropriate. The questions were ignored. Once the money was raised, it was supposed to flow into legitimate investments, energy projects, real estate development, economic initiatives. Instead, it flowed through a labyrinth of shell companies, offshore accounts, and fake transactions across multiple countries: the United States, Singapore, Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, the British Virgin Islands. At each step of the journey, the money was harder to trace. By the time it reached its final destination, it had been laundered so thoroughly that it looked, on paper, like legitimate funds. The final destination was Jho Low's personal accounts and Najib Razak's personal accounts, and the accounts of their associates, their families, and their friends. The total amount stolen, an estimated $4.5 billion from a fund that was supposed to build Malaysia's future. What Jho Low did with the money is where the story becomes almost incomprehensible. He didn't hide it. He didn't invest it conservatively or bury it quietly in Swiss accounts. He spent it. Loudly. With a brazenness that in retrospect seems either genius or insanity. In Hollywood, he became the most sought-after party host in the city. He rented out entire nightclubs. He flew celebrities to his event on private jets. He dropped millions of dollars in a single evening without even blinking. He produced The Wolf of Wall Street, a film about a man who steals money and lives extravagantly, using stolen money from the Malaysian people. The irony is so thick it almost doesn't seem real. He bought a $250 million super yacht called the Equanimity, one of the largest privately owned yachts in the world. He purchased $200 million in artwork, a Picasso, a Monet, a Basquiat, and he paid for it with funds meant to develop a nation. He bought a $30 million New York apartment and a $39 million Beverly Hills mansion. He gave a $2.6 million diamond necklace to Australian model Miranda Kerr. And through all of it, the parties, the yachts, the artwork, the celebrities, nobody in a position of authority asked the obvious question: where is this money coming from? Javier Andre Justo was a Swiss businessman who had worked for a company called Petro Saudi, a firm that had done an early deal with IMDb that was central to the fraud. He had inside knowledge. He had documents. He had emails and data that showed exactly what had happened inside of one MDB's earliest transactions. In 2015, after a falling out with his former employers, Justo made a decision that would change everything. He copied the data. Thousands of documents, emails, financial records, evidence that painted a detailed picture of how the fraud worked. He passed the information to a journalist, Claire Rucastle Brown. She ran a blog called the Sarawak Report, and it was dedicated to exposing the corruption in Malaysia. The documents were explosive. They showed in granular detail how money had been diverted, how fake transactions had been constructed, how Malaysian people had been systematically robbed by their own government. Sarawak Report published. The story spread. Journalists at the Wall Street Journal began their own investigation using the leaked documents. And then something happened that showed exactly how far the corruption went. Justo was arrested in Thailand, where he'd been living. The Thai authorities charged him with extortion, a charge widely believed to have been engineered by the Malaysian government to discredit him and his documents. He spent time in a Thai prison. He was pressured to say the documents were fake. He was used as a pawn in a cover-up by one of the most powerful governments in Southeast Asia. He refused to recant. The documents were real. The story was real. And eventually, despite every effort to suppress it, the truth came out. The Wall Street Journal's investigation, built partially on Justo's documents, revealed that in 2015 that $700 million had flowed directly into Najib Razak's personal bank account. $700 million into the Prime Minister's personal bank account. Najib called it a political donation from the Saudi royal family, an explanation so implausible that it was almost insulting to the people he was asking to believe it. Investigations were launched across multiple countries simultaneously: the United States, Singapore, Switzerland, Australia. The DOJ's case became one of the largest kleptocracy investigations in American history. Assets were seized worldwide. The superyacht Equanimity was impounded in international waters. Artwork was seized from New York galleries. Real estate was frozen. In 2018, in a stunning election result, Najib Razak's party was voted out of power for the first time in Malaysian history. The new government launched its own investigation. In 2020, Najib Razak was convicted of corruption, money laundering, and abuse of power. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. He is currently in prison in Malaysia. Jho Low was indicted by the United States Department of Justice on multiple counts of money laundering and fraud. He has never been arrested. He's believed to be living in China, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States, and remains one of the most wanted fugitives in the world. He's still out there, somewhere. I want to come back to the people who matter most in this story. Not the celebrities, not the bankers, not the politicians. The ordinary Malaysians who were told that their sovereign wealth fund was building their future. One MDB accumulated $11 billion in debt that the Malaysian government, meaning Malaysian taxpayers, is still paying off today. Money that should have built hospitals, schools, infrastructure, and economic opportunity is instead servicing debt created by theft. A generation of Malaysians will pay for what Jho Low spent on champagne and Picassos. Javier Yusto, the man who risked his freedom to expose it, spent time in a foreign prison for telling the truth. He was eventually pardoned and released after international pressure. He returned to Switzerland. Claire Rucastle Brown, the journalist who published the documents, she faced legal threats. She faced harassment and attempts to silence her for years. They both did the right thing anyway. Every fraud has an architect. Jho Low is unique in one important way. Every other villain we've covered on this channel has faced justice. Skilling went to prison. Madoff died in prison. Holmes is in prison. Newman lost his company. SBF is in prison. But Jho Low is eating dinner somewhere tonight. Probably somewhere expensive. He stole $4.5 billion from one of the poorest populations in Southeast Asia. He spent it on yachts and artwork and parties with Hollywood celebrities. He produced a film about financial fraud with stolen money. He is wanted by the United States Department of Justice, and he is free. That is the most uncomfortable truth in this entire story. The system that is supposed to catch people like Jho Low, the regulators, the banks, the auditors, the governments, they failed at every single step. Goldman Sachs took $600 million in fees and asked no questions. Multiple governments looked the other way for years. The lesson isn't just about one man's greed. It's about what happens when powerful institutions choose profit over accountability. When the people who are supposed to ask hard questions decide that the fees are too good to risk the relationship. Jho Low couldn't have stolen the $4.5 billion alone. He needed banks. He needed lawyers. He needed auditors. He needed a prime minister. They all said yes. Next week, we're going inside Wirecard, the German payment company that faked $2 billion in cash and fooled regulators, auditors, and journalists for years, and the short seller who tried to expose it and was investigated by German authorities instead of the company he was warning them about. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you Friday.